Welcome to Vibin with Ashley Live. I'm Ashley Live, your host, and this is episode 95. Tonight's guest is singer, songwriter from Athens, Georgia. His name is Bradley McKee. His music reflects his love of bubblegum pop, coupled with powerhouse vocals and honest, relatable lyrics. In 2014, Bradley was featured on season 7 of NBC's hit show The Voice. His recent single, Belong, was released in June. Bradley's in the house right on time, and he's requesting to be in my video, so I'm going to bring him on in. Hey, guys. Bradley!
Hello.
Hello. How's your evening going?
So far, so good. Yeah, just in the apartment.
Yes. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us on this special edition. This is episode 95 for me. I know you were right on time at 8 o'clock, but I just wanted to give you the proper introduction, Bradley.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I love it.
Awesome. So we're just going to get right into it. I start each show off with a song lyric. So for tonight, I use some song lyrics from your song Belong that you released in June. So I'm just going to say these lyrics, share them with the audience, and then you're just going to give me your take on this. Cool?
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Okay. One day I'll find a place I belong. This road that I have journeyed is long. Alone too far, I've carried these wrongs. I pray I find a place I belong.
I love it. Yeah. Do you want me just to kind of talk a little
Yeah.
bit about this? Yeah. So that song is really, it's my latest single I released, and it was one of the toughest songs I've ever written, which is interesting because some of the other songs I've written are pretty heavy as well. But this one, it kind of sparked from an emotion of just something happened in my life, and then I was like, oh my gosh, I've kind of felt this way for a really long time, and I've carried the weight of kind of feeling like I don't really ever connect somewhere fully. Like, hey, if there were 4 seats in the car and I was the 5th friend, like, it's pretty obvious I'd be the one who was out. And I've always felt like this. And then I also, recently kind of finding some really cool friend groups and some people that I've been able to go, not just finding like lots of friends, but also go kind of deep with a few people. I've realized that I don't want to be a burden to people. I like to carry all of my issues on my own. And I just don't think personally that we are meant to live that way. I think we're meant to have friends and people come alongside us. And at times we carry some of their burdens. At times they carry some of our burdens. Mm-hmm. And that like relieve some of the load of just life. Life is wild. So mm-hmm. I love that lyric, and I think about it often. Is because it's a constant reminder for me. It wasn't like I wrote the song, released it, and then I was like, okay, that's it, I'm fixed, like I'm cured. I all of a sudden just feel like I should be everywhere with everybody. It's still an ongoing thing, and so many people have reached out after they've heard the song and said, yeah, this is a universal experience. We all have felt like we just don't belong somewhere, or like we're the outsider, or, we feel like we're alone, or we have these moments where we just think, and we kind of believe those lies, right? That we're not supposed to be there, and we're not supposed to be here. And that is just absolute just crap. We're meant to belong, and that song just has meant so much to me to get out, which has been awesome.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you for being so honest with this song, because when I listened to it, it touched me in multiple points. It wasn't just like one point in my life that I felt that way. It was like, I don't know, 3 or 4 hands. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
God, like, I feel this way too, Bradley.
That's awesome. And, well, I mean, not awesome, but it's awesome we can connect.
I know what you mean.
Like, and it's so true. Like I said, I mean, I think for me, I sing it and I write it and I listen to it, and I like have these random little flashbacks of like, there's a time in elementary school, there's a time in middle school, there's a time in high school, there's a time as an adult and college. I mean, there are, like you said, multiple moments where I'm like, I felt this it wasn't just a one-time experience. I felt it kind of in pockets, like all out. So it has been really, really enlightening and encouraging as a songwriter, because sometimes, you know, you write songs and you're like, nobody else has ever felt this way. Like, I'm gonna write the song, it's gonna flop, and it's not only will it flop, but it's like me spilling my heart out, and then everyone's like, cool, thanks so much, it's on your own, like, you're on your own. Especially this song, like, this is what it's all about.
But that's the crazy thing about these vulnerable songs, right? It's like you're writing it and it's so honest to you, and you just like think of these moments in time when you wrote this song, and then you release it into the world and you're like so nervous and so scared, and then like this flood of comments come in and people are like, Bradley, oh my God, this, and I'm sure you've heard like several stories of people saying they felt that way too.
Yes. Yeah, and that has been the most encouraging thing. For a long time, the theme of my music has been, you know, I don't think we're meant to like do this alone, just in general life, but also music. Like, the most fun I've ever had, and I'm sure we'll talk and touch on like my time on The Voice, but to me, the best part about that was like, hey, there's 75 other people I was kind of trapped with in this hotel that I got with, and that will always be the memory that I carry with me, was like, hey, I've got to meet these people. We have this shared experience.
Yeah.
Do this together. And now we all belong somewhere together. Like, there's no other group of people that can say that we were on that season of that show at that time. And it means something. It might be silly to some people, but it does mean something that we kind of got to do that together, which is cool.
Yeah. It's like being in camp, or like going to high school with people, or like going to a certain college. It's like you're maybe not friends with every single person there, but it's like you still would reach out to that person and be like, oh my God, do you remember this one time we were in the hotel lobby and XYZ happened? And they're like, oh my God, yes. But when you talk to someone who wasn't in that experience, they're like, okay, fine, but I don't get it. But the only people that would get it are the people that were on your season with you.
Yes, exactly. Like you said, even if we weren't super close, you know, we just kind of, we had that moment. They're the only ones I could reach back out to and say, oh my gosh, you're the only one who's going to remember this moment in time, even if we're not the best of friends, or we can kind of relive that and either laugh or cry or just kind of share that lived experience, which is important. Like, it's really cool to have those moments with people.
Yeah, whether it's high school, whether it's college, whether like you went to, you know, preschool with someone, right?
Yeah.
Oh my God, remember this time in preschool and we were 5, and you know what I mean? And then you have that shared experience.
Yeah, yes, that's exactly right. Like, it is just blowing my mind just how connected that we are. And it's crazy. Like, I look back and even like, hey, we didn't get along in high school, even like, even further than like, we didn't, not only did we not like maybe know each other, we're the best of friends, or maybe we didn't get along, but we've grown and we're cool. Yeah. And we can look back and kind of I even talk to people now where I'm like, man, we didn't really know each other in high school at all, but we went to the same time, same place, and we share our experiences, and it almost is like we lived 2 different worlds. Definitely. But it's cool to see their experience and how they viewed it, and then see my experience and how I viewed it, and then even kind of laugh about like, man, if we knew what we knew now, like, we did differently, but that's okay. Like, we had a great time, we lived some lives, and you know, we have that experience that we can talk about and we can learn from. Like, I learn from when people share things, I'm like, I missed that completely, maybe because of something that I was going through or the way that I viewed the world. And then they hopefully will feel the same way, of like, they hear my stories and my experiences, and then we grow from that and we learn from that. And like you said, that's why I think these songs are important, that we're not just writing fun songs or surface level songs. My hope is that we can all grow and just become better people, like, from hearing these shared experiences.
Yeah, I think that's so important. And that's the power of songwriting, right? Is because some of the most amazing songs ever have been some of these emotional, vulnerable songs. Like, for instance, Demi Lovato, Anyone. Right? Like, do you remember the first time you heard that song? Like, I had chills to my, like, wow.
Yeah, mine was Pieces, when Kelly Clarkson sang that on Idol and did their version of it there. Yeah. I was wrecked. Like, for a week, I was a wreck.
Yes. So it's those songs that just stick with you, or even something like Fix You by Coldplay. I remember the first time I heard that song, and then I heard that he wrote that for his then wife at the time. And I was like, oh my God. And like, I could hear that song right now and I would just start bawling my eyes out because that song always makes me cry. And it's like, and then think of like what she was going through when she was dealing with the death of her father. And I'm like, oh my God, like music is so powerful that it can have all these emotions over us, right?
It's wild.
Yeah.
Yes. Crazy how like, you can be driving in a car, having the best time of your life, and a certain song comes on, and you are just taking. It's like
Yes.
you're taking their first chord. You're like, oh, here we
Yeah.
go, mood change.
Or you need to pull over to the side of the road and you just need to like, because you're afraid you're going to drive off the side of the road because you have like tears streaming down
Yeah,
your face.
it's raining
In,
on the.
in the song, he goes tears streaming down your face. I'm like, oh my God, they are though.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Right. So let's start from the very beginning. What age were you when you fell in love with music, and what did music mean to you as a child?
Yeah. So oddly enough, as a child, I think music was similar to like most people's stories. It didn't play a huge role. I wasn't super like musically inclined. I didn't do anything musical. I don't have kind of these cute home videos of me in like a diaper and a play guitar, like running around the house. Like that's not my story.
Yeah.
Um, my story is more in high school. I had my mom got remarried. I transferred schools my freshman year, which was really tough because even though I still didn't like love who I was at the time, I did have friends and I had kind of an established life. So picking up and moving was really hard for me, and I had no hobbies. For lack of a better like term, I had no purpose. Like I went to school, I had an after school job, I went home. Like I didn't do anything. I didn't play a sport at the time. I had kind of given a lot of that up.
Mm-hmm.
I had met some friends who were in choir. And so, kind of all at the same moment, I was 16 years old. I met these friends who were like, hey, we can hang out more if you join this like extracurricular thing. Like, if you, instead of taking like shop or garage, like come and take like chorus with us. And at the same time, I got kind of plugged into my local church and was also really intrigued by the worship. And I like really loved the worship and the music. So at 16, I just kind of literally like all in the same few months had joined a chorus at school, had gotten really intrigued by the idea of like worship at church, and just kind of discovered this voice that I didn't know I could sing. And to my knowledge, no one had ever said like, oh, you have such a beautiful voice. Like, do you ever sing? Like nothing like that. This was a totally brand new talent for me and a new thing. But I was hooked because music, I mean, it was a place for like, we had football players and cheerleaders. We had people like me who like music was like everything. That was my thing. We had people who it was just like a hobby, but I mean, every concert meant something to us. Every performance like meant something to all of us. Um, and so I kind of fell in love with this passion of like, I love the way I feel when I
Yeah.
get, I love the way I feel when we get to kind of share even what you just did in the beginning, where it's like, our choir teacher would share some lyrics, especially ones that were in like Italian or French, share like what the English was. And it was always like this beautiful thing that I'm sure as a 16-year-old, I did not express as eloquently as I am maybe now. But I did love it. I know that deep down I did love it. I loved what it meant. And so that was my love. And I ran with it from there. It became like who I was. Like I loved music. I loved singing. Songwriting came later, but I loved everything about what music was.
Mm-hmm. And I like how your friends said to you, like, hey, if you want to hang out with us more, just join choir. It was kind of like a community for you. It was like these people that
Yeah,
just put their arms around you, embraced you, and said, hey, come in, come and worship with us, but also come take choir with us.
yeah, yeah. And it was, again, like kind of looking back, it's like that was one of the first moments I remember feeling like, oh my gosh, there are people who like want to be around me and want to be my friend, because that's definitely something I struggle with even back then, as we talked about earlier. The moments definitely started way before I wrote this song 2 years ago, last year.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I mean, I love that. It was like, you want me to hang out with you more? Whatever. It could have been anything. You could have been like in ballet, break dance. We could have been building like a rock, whatever it was. I'm in. Like, if you want to hang out, I am in.
And I think that's important though, because like sometimes like in high school or middle school, it's like, okay, so what curricular activities can you do? You could do like math team, you could do choir, you could do theater, you could do band, you could do all these like random things, sports and stuff like that. But it's like, what are you doing outside of your academics, right?
Yeah, and that is why, like, I even remember, like, it gave me an identity. It gave me
Yeah.
a purpose,
Yeah.
and I need a purpose. Like, whether it's what you're doing or it's what drives what you're doing, like, we all need to feel like we're doing something with purpose. And that was mine. And that was the first time I ever felt like, oh my gosh, I have something that, like, when people ask, who are you or
Yeah.
what do you do, I could say, I sing, I do music. Like, that is my thing. And I finally have that thing I can call, like, mine, which was a huge deal.
Yeah. I think that's so cool where it's like you just did it just for the heck of it. And then you're like, wait, but I love this.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, at the time, and I think it was like the most amazing mental thing ever. You couldn't have told me that I was not the greatest thing to come out of like high school music. And God, and I look back now and it's like cringeworthy, but I think it was kind of it was good for me because I think if I would have felt the way I feel now, where I'm maybe a little bit more critical of my music or more critical of how I sound,
Yeah.
given up. So I'm really thankful that I had like kind of this mental block of like, I am amazing. Like I am God's gift to music. Thank you, Lord, for me.
Does. So how would you describe the music that you create?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing because right now I think the music I create is very honest. At times it can be a little sad, it can be a little heavy, because it is focusing on kind of where I'm at in life, which is like I was grieving and I probably still am grieving.
Yeah.
Uh, a lot of that theme in my music. But in general, I just love writing songs that reflect where I am and I'm getting more comfortable fighting those thoughts of like we kind of mentioned earlier, like no one is going to understand this, or it's too niche, or it's too like it's too reflective of me, or
Yeah.
that line wasn't general enough, even though it's like not as honest when it's more general. So I think it does reflect more of a um, it's more specific to like where I'm at. It's more kind of just telling my story. Like for a long time I was like, I'm a pop singer. Like I am not a singer songwriter. I'm a pop singer.
Yeah.
I'm a pop singer. And then as I kind of grew more and more, I was like, actually, I respect the crap out of people who are singer songwriters. And I think that's where I'm at, is that my songs 99% of the time are going to tell you a story from start to
Right.
finish. Get the verses are like, these chapters, and then you're going to get this chorus, which sometimes even changes throughout the song to reflect wherever that story is. It might be slightly different, a few word changes, but it's going to tell a story. And that is something that I love. I love that, that I get to tell stories this way, because it wouldn't be as, to me, as beautiful or as nice or as impactful if I just spoke it somewhere. That's
Yeah.
not necessarily my gift. So I am grateful that I can tell these stories, and that's how I describe it. They are just stories of my life. It's a window
Yeah.
into where the heck is happening right now.
And I think being a singer songwriter is awesome because there's a lot of people that just sing and can't really write.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot of famous people that just like sing other people's songs. But when you're the songwriter and you're literally like, hey, I went through this, like this is something very near and dear to my heart. This is something that happened to a friend or a family member or just me directly. Like when you sing it, it's like it's there. But if like you're just singing someone else's craft, it's kind of like, okay, well, what were they thinking when they wrote this song? And they're like, oh, I was just trying to like, just put some words down. But like when you sing your own song, it's so powerful.
Yeah. There's a moment in High School Musical which I thought was so stupid, but I loved it. Where
Yeah.
the girl who like writes all the songs for their musical says something about like, I'm the songwriter. I'm like the playmaker or the quarterback, or so she said something really stupid that didn't make any sense. But I did like it because I was like, man, that was like, again, one of the first times I saw, even in a really dumb way, like a character represented who was like, oh, I don't sing. I'm not going to like be the one on stage doing these, but I'm going to write the songs. And that is super important. And so getting to do both, like
Yeah.
write the song and then have control over like, what will it sound like when I sing it? And I get to deliver. And it's like, I don't even have to act or like you said, kind of figure out what the person meant when they wrote this or what it means to me. Cause I know these words super intimately. And so, yeah, I love being able to like write the story and then kind of control telling the story. And then the best part is when people hear it and then they're like, that feels like my story.
Exactly.
And I like that you can have it. Like, let's walk this thing together. Like, I'm not the gatekeeper of this story.
Yeah,
Like, for us, not just for me.
definitely. So walk us through your creative process.
Yeah, sometimes it's chaos. Sometimes like super clean. Some of the best songs I've written, I have had a random idea. I've sat down, and 15 minutes later, I've had mostly a full song.
Yeah.
And then there have been moments where I have written, like my very first single Moments, I had walked into a studio determined after years and years of wanting to write a song. I was like, I want to record a song. I want to do it. Let's do it. I'm going to control it. Let's do it. So I walked in, found producers, we had this whole song planned. And then one night we were just sharing other clips of songs I'd written, like a random verse here or a chorus there. And I showed them this verse of this song I had written 4 or 5 years before I walked into their studio.
Oh,
But I
wow.
did it, and I never did anything with it. And I think it was even because I shared it with some friends who I respected their like music opinions, and no one responded. I think I remember that, and I remember thinking, cool, it was so lackluster that nobody even could say it was bad or good.
Oh, wow.
So I had like kind of hidden it away, and I showed them, and like I was flipping through them, showing audio clip after audio clip, and they were like, go back to that one. So I like went back to it, and literally from there we continued writing and wrote my first single off of that song. Totally changed the whole game plan that we had for the studio time, because they thought that song was so powerful, and it still is like really one of my favorite. Like, it's a road trip song. It's fun. It's a light. It like describes where I was at the time, like wanting music just to be this thing that could be like really head bob and jam to, and the kind of the stuff that I love listening to myself.
Yeah.
Cool. And if I didn't have that saved it from 5 years before, we would have never had that song. So the creative process can span anything from like 15 minutes of writing and sitting down with chords alone in my apartment to writing something quick from years ago and saving it and thinking nothing ever will probably come of this,
Yeah.
and it becoming my first song I ever got to release.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think it's crazy because when I talk to songwriters, they're like, oh, well, I just have like all these voice memos, or I just have these notebooks, like 7 notebooks of like ideas. And I'm like, and I think everyone's creative process is so different, even depending on the song. Some people are like, oh, I finished the song in 15 minutes, or, oh, I played the melody on the piano and then the lyrics didn't come to me for 3 years or whatever. So I think there's not like one way to answer that question. It's like, it's everywhere and it's chaotic and fun. And yeah, you might bang it out in 15 minutes, but then you're like, oh, I wrote this song like 3 months ago. And I think I want to see if I can like finish that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So many random scenarios.
Yeah. Or even take the idea from a song that I like wrote part of it, but couldn't really finish it.
Yeah.
But then the concept, and it's like, well, actually I'm kind of feeling like this, and it's very different. It won't work with what I had.
Yeah.
But I'll general concept and be like, let's write something brand new. Let's give it kind of new life. And that has been the concept for a few different songs where I've kind of scrapped the actual like meat and potatoes that I had, but took the like essence of it and was like, let's plug it into something new. And it became something really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Because sometimes I think you need to have some time. Maybe you write a song and then you're like, okay, but I don't know what the melody sounds like. And then maybe you come back to it like a month and a half later and you're like, okay, it came to me when I was in the shower. Boom, there it is.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, waterproof paper is the most incredible thing. That and waterproofing phones. I mean,
Right?
because they have been used.
Bradley, what musicians inspire you?
What a question. So, like vocally and talent wise, I've always been obsessed with Gavin DeGraw.
Yeah.
I think he has just such a raw, honest talent. And to me, it's even shown that like when he first started and he had some big hit singles, and he's writing like One Tree Hill's theme song, and he's got all these amazing things. And that was 30 years ago, and now it's even today he releases music and sings live and records. So I think the fact that it's kind of timeless, and his voice to me has always been one of the most incredible like male voices like in the pop scene. And then we talked about Kelly Clarkson earlier. I think her story is cool because you watch videos of her starting, and it's like she was a regular person.
Yeah.
She was a regular person who had this dream and this insane talent, and she got to take that and run with it. And I still watch like her Idol stuff sometimes, and it's just like you can see on her face almost relief when she wins and when she gets to perform, and it's like you could tell like she never in a million years imagined like that would be where she ended up. And I love that story so much. So those two people for sure. And then I respect a ton of like not smaller, but like maybe lesser known singer-songwriters. Like I love Johnny Swim, Ben, Dave Barnes. Like I love guys like that and girls who are just performing and writing and singing, and like they're loving it and they're telling stories, which is where they kind of really own the whole like singer-songwriter thing, because their stories are so powerful and so cool. Yeah, and even Johnny Swim, one of their songs, Georgia Pond, was what really inspired me to feel okay with writing these like songs about grief, because they tell the story of how that song came about. And I was at one of their concerts once a few years ago, and I like at the time it was like, whoa, really powerful, really cool. Yeah. And then I saw somebody like probably 6 months later, and I remember the first time that song came on shuffle, I mean, I wept because it was like this. I remember the story. I remembered the song, and I still can't play it on piano without absolutely losing it.
Yeah.
Because it was so beautiful, and it took on this meaning that I just at the time didn't need and wasn't prepared to process. And now I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what I needed. Like, wow. Yeah. So anyone that kind of tells a story like that so beautifully and so honest, they're definitely going to be in my top. Like, hey, you inspire me so much.
Definitely. And I think it goes back to storytelling, right? Like these musicians who can tell a story. And like when we talk about hearing a song and crying and being like, wow, like knowing that these pieces of music can bring out that kind of emotion, whether it's a good cry or a bad cry, or it's like, oh my God, this reminds me of that time in my life where it was emotional for me.
Yeah. Yeah. And even, I think the connection too is really cool. Like, I think someone just joined, who's my friend Brianna. I don't know if she's still here, but it just reminded me of when you were saying that, like her and I went to school together to study classical music, and that's what we did. And she became a teacher, and it's amazing. And I just remember recently she reached out and like just said something about Belong and how much she loved it. It was beautiful. And that kind of stuff means so much, because it's like when you're studying a different type of music, or you come from a different kind of world, like classical music and pop music are just very different.
Yeah.
I just feel like you're kind of like, man, that person or those people may not respect what I'm doing as much because it's not what they're doing. And like I struggle sometimes being like, even if it's not my type of music, I want to learn to respect how much time they've spent on their craft. Love you too, Brianna. But I love that, because I mean, literally, it was such a great moment, because I was like, man, we haven't talked, or we don't get to see each other a lot. We saw each other very recently, but over the years, but it just reminded me of like that comment meant a lot to me, because we had shared a moment, and then here we are 8 years later after college, and she's like, I listened to your song. I like, wow, beautiful. Like, I mean, and that just meant so much to know that somebody who has known me long as like can come back and say, yeah, this was a beautiful thing that you created and we shared together, and now I get to listen to this. And it's such a cool experience, getting to tell stories and getting to have like strangers, yes, but even people that you've known be like, wow, I didn't know that, or like that's a new beautiful thing that I just didn't know was happening. So it's super cool.
Yeah, the power of music.
It's wild.
I'm so proud of your heart and you pursuing dreams. Oh my God, that is so sweet. Oh my gosh, so sweet. Who would you most like to collaborate with?
Oh my gosh. I think if I had to pick anyone right now, Andy Grammer. I'm going to go big. Like, I just think he's got a style, and every time he comes out with something, I'm like, this is it. I can listen to this on repeat. And every time I've dreamed of like doing another show or something, or if I was on stage again at the Voice or finals and they brought a guest performer on with me, like that's what I imagine. We would bring the house down. We'd have a big, fun, huge energy, and it'd be amazing. Like Andy Grammer would be the one I'd be like, yeah, let's do it. Let's get after it.
He's like your ideal. Like he is the one.
Yeah, he's the one. Like there's other people for other reasons, but he's my top choice like all the time. I'm like, I go back to like we put on one of his big fun songs, we hit that stage and we just give it everything, have this big fun energy, and I think that's how I want to go out with with us singing a big old song on stage.
I love it. I could definitely see that happening.
Oh, I hope someday.
So in 2014, you were on season 7 of The Voice. Bring us back to your blind audition, and what were you feeling when you were singing for the judges?
Yeah, oh my gosh. So many emotions. In some ways it feels like forever ago. In some ways it feels like it was 6 months ago or yesterday.
Yeah.
I think it was less about the moment and more like leading up to it.
Yeah.
For anyone who doesn't really know, like, you know, there's a lot of time before that blind audition, and we had spent several weeks leading up preparing, and I got to meet all these amazing people. And for me, which shouldn't be a major shock if anyone's like listened to the first part of this like live show, I literally just felt diminished because it was like, man, all the people around me are encouraging me and telling me that like I'm amazing, but I'm at the same time fighting their encouragement with my own thoughts, going, they're crazy, like they're so talented. What am I doing here? Like what here? And truthfully, I psyched myself out. I got on that stage knowing and preparing to sing, to I think unconsciously kind of like make myself fail and sabotage myself because I didn't feel like I had earned one of those spots. And in my mind, there were other people there who should have gotten a spot above me. And I could, that I should take a spot from someone who is like, you know, I'm hearing their stories. They're telling me like, I've been pursuing music for 30 years. I've been singing since I was 6. I've auditioned for 48 of these TV shows over and over again. And I'm like, this is not time number 1 for me. And I haven't really fully committed to this music thing yet. So I'm like, how can I take your spot? Like you're a person that I care about now. Like, and I just really psyched myself out. So I got on that stage and I was terrified. I was terrified of both not making it and not being enough, and maybe all the people who thought I would never make it are right. And I was terrified of making it and then being a poser, being someone who didn't feel like he belonged there, which is super weird.
Wow, that's very interesting. Because the thing is, I mean, you have to go through multiple rounds to even get backstage. So the thing is, Bradley, you deserve to be there. And the thing is with those shows, it's like they have hundreds and thousands of people that they listen to. So to get as far as you did and to even sing in front of those judges is amazing, because I'm sure you've heard stories like this before. I literally know people that try out for those shows and they don't even get to make the stage because all the spots are full before they can even take the stage. And they've gone home like 6 or 7 different times. They're like, I've never sang for the celebrity judges because every time I'm at like the end and they never call my number.
Yeah, it's crazy. Like you said, if I could go back, I would literally look at myself and be like, whatever you're doing, just knock it off. Like, you look at the facts. There are 150,000 people who auditioned for your season. You were top 5. Not only were you top 75, but they are pushing you through every interview early. Like you said, there's spots that get filled, and like they're telling me, hey, you're going to go have your interview with Carson Daly. You're like number 2. And then we're being told, hey, only like 10 people of like 45 are going to have a chance to really talk to this guy. And so I'm thinking, I look back and I'm like, you're an idiot. Like they were pushing you to the front because like they wanted you to like do well and they wanted you to succeed, and you were doing everything in your power to try. And so I look back and honestly no regrets, because I mean I still get to go to Nashville and visit friends that I met from that season, 7 years ago, and so there's very few regrets with that. But I definitely look back and I'm like, you missed it. You missed the signs. You missed kind of leaning into like letting people tell you that you were good and you were worth listening. now I think that's where a lot of my music comes from, is like that moment sparked both a confidence in me to pursue music more seriously, and it sparked me kind of learning like, hey, not everything that you feel about yourself is a truth, like of your, it probably is a lie. Like it's probably like, if it's a negative thought like that is not a truth, and you don't need to hold on to that thought.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, you're right. There's so many clues I look back on. I'm like, you should have just gotten it way back then.
And honestly, I think some of this talk, the negative self-talk that we give to ourselves, is so detrimental, right? Like, think of some of the things that like you've told yourself that you've never said to anybody, but you've thought yourself, right? Would you say that to your best friends?
Never, never.
Like, so that when that negative self-talk happens, you just need to be like, would I say that to this person? Hell no. Would she say that to me? Hell no. So then you're like, no, we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there. It's all positivity.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right.
Yeah. Also, for those people who did not see your audition, you were towards the end. So 3 of the judges already had full teams. So you literally, like, Blake was the only person that could turn for you.
Yeah. So yes. There, I think it was a little bit of TV magic that happened there. But of course, I didn't know for sure either way.
Yeah.
And they told us, hey, you're gonna hear things from people who have auditioned and either made it or didn't make it, but there's no way for us to know. And they were keeping it on lock because they didn't go up there knowing there's 1 spot left. Like, please.
Like, because the thing is, like, of course you want all 4 judges to turn, but they don't tell you, like, oh, hey, by the way, there's only 1 judge left, and like if he doesn't turn for you, like, you're not going through. So like that sucks, because there's people that go that first day, right? And then there's people that go the last day, and it's like, oh, that person's team is full, that person's team is full, oh, now 1 spot left on 1 person's team, and if that person doesn't turn around, well, we're just gonna sit here till he turns around.
Yeah, exactly. And there was a lot of like almost a sigh of relief when it aired, because I didn't know anything about that until it aired. And they aired it saying, oh, Blake has 1 spot left. There are several artists who didn't get that spot, but here's the one that did. And I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't know that. And I kind of had a sigh of relief knowing like, okay, I didn't miss out on 48 spots.
Exactly.
I missed 1 spot. And that is a hell of a lot harder to get than that 48 spots. And so it's like, that was a little bit of a relief, like knowing that the stakes were a lot like harder for me when I got to audition.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you would try out for another reality singing TV show?
Potentially. I wouldn't give as much effort into like going like for The Voice. I was like off the street. I showed up in Nashville with the other 10,000 people that day.
Yeah.
Stood in the freezing cold outside the building. Got to go in and sing like for the people. Like I didn't get invited. It was no special treatment. Like I started from the ground up.
Yeah.
A lot of effort. It was a lot of, I live in near Atlanta, so like Georgia. So going to Nashville several times was a lot of traveling. It was for especially a college student who had no idea if this was even going to pan out. So I wouldn't give it as much effort. If I could go and like maybe do front of the line or get like, I would definitely try it again, because I think I now know I have more of my own worth where I don't think it would bother me to not get picked anymore. I think I understand the shows and how it's like, hey, like you mentioned earlier, they're looking for things, but it doesn't. There's so many talented people that audition year after year after year after year and don't make it, and they are way more talented than me objectively. So it's not about the talent. I think it's about just whatever they need. And knowing that, I would go in and like, instead of letting them use me, I would probably like be able to more use them and say, okay, they are not my ticket out, but they're an amazing platform to share my music, to share my message, to share me with the world and get more people to support my music and come to shows. So I would definitely like, I understand the assignment a little better now. So long story short, long story long, yes, I probably would audition again.
I think that's awesome, because the thing is, you're right. The platform a show like this gives you is nuts. Like you literally, like the amount of streams the auditions have on YouTube, it's crazy, like worldwide, right? And so it's amazing how you can just go from like living in your town doing these gigs, right? And then people you just become this overnight sensation because everybody has seen you on YouTube or on cable and they're like, oh my God. So I think it's an amazing platform for musicians who just want that visibility.
Yeah, and the amount of people who started taking me more seriously as a musician,
Yeah.
even failed audition,
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine how many more people would like take me more seriously and give me more opportunity if I made it on one of the shows. So like it's one of those things like trying to understand like there are the people that don't see your worth. That doesn't have to equate to how I see it, but it is helpful where it's like you can point back. It's like having a resume where it's like, hey, I did do this thing. It is helpful to say that like they thought I was this good. And even like you said, going through the process, even the once before and not getting a chair turn, thankfully there's this video evidence that I was there and I can show that and I can say I did it.
Yeah.
Which to say, I know lots of friends who hit the stage, didn't get a chair turn, and got no TV time. They have literally nothing to show. But
Yeah.
such a bummer.
Yeah, which sucks because it's like the person's like, "Oh, I was on American Idol," and then you Google their name in American Idol. I'm like, wait, where is your tape? Like, do you even have a picture with the sign behind you? Like, were you there? And they're like, "Oh my God, they didn't show my audition. I was like, I went 3 rounds." I'm like, that totally sucks.
Yeah, isn't that wild? Idol's
Yeah.
crazy. Like literally people who have like, I made it 3 rounds. I made it to Hollywood and never once got on camera.
Yeah, which is crazy because it's like, but I was in the show, but like, you never saw me. So I want to talk about these songs that you've been releasing. Brighter Than in December, Fix in March, and most recently, Belong, which we've been talking about. Now, these songs are extremely personal to you and they cover a lot of emotional topics. So can we break down the meaning of Brighter Than as well as Fix, since we've kind of already talked about Belong?
Absolutely. Brighter Than and Fix both have one central theme, and for me, it's how I've processed grief.
Yeah.
My biggest disclaimer is that I don't know everything about grief. I don't think any of us do. Grief I've learned, is wild, and it hits everybody differently at different times. And, we try to make it really easy to deal with. And there's the 5 stages of grief, and everyone should go through them. But it's like, we talked about earlier, like sometimes you're in the car and you hear a sad song and it just hits you, and a loss reminds you of the song, or even a happy song that was your favorite to sing with somebody you lost is like, it can make you cry. Grief is crazy. And it's one of the few things I think that we just can't control. And so this was my Brighter Than and Fix was my way of kind of trying to process what grief looked like. Cause at the time when I wrote Brighter Than, I had never lost a person in my immediate family, but a very dear friend of mine had lost his mom in a really crazy accident. And it was so sudden, and he lived in a different town about 2 hours away. And all of our other friend group lived in the town as well. And so they were able to kind of be there for him. They were comforting him. They were there when he was crying. They were there when he was having breakdowns. They bought meals for him, and they were there. Just they were able to be there. I couldn't be there. Yeah. And it tore me up. I wanted to be there for him. And so and even at the time I was like, okay, writing a song feels like kind of weird, maybe like it's self-promotion, but it's what I do and it's what I'm good at, and I hopefully this will help him. So I wrote Brighter Than, and when we were recording my first single, Moments, we actually recorded this live version that I released years ago when he lost his mom as a one take live in Nashville. But it was so good and so powerful that I literally almost re-recorded it, and I was like, why? I love what we created back then. It was so honest and so timely, and it really captured how I felt and how I feel like he felt. I called him once and just asked him. I met his mom once or twice, but I was like, tell me about her. Like, what are some of because they had a kind of a turmoilous, relationship, and I was like, tell me about her crazy stuff, but also tell me about what you loved about her. Like, everyone has redeeming qualities.
Yeah.
And most chaotic people in our lives. And so he did, and I took notes, and I basically just hashed out the song where it was like, hey, his mom reminds me of nature. It reminds me of this idea that we literally cannot control nature. I mean, you have tsunamis, hurricanes, earthquakes. Nature destroys so much of what we've tried to create, but nature is also the most beautiful thing I think we can experience, here. And so it reminded me so much of that, of hey, his mom in a lot of ways was this destructive force at times in his life. She was the ocean tide, which we can't control. She was all these different kind of things. But at the same time, he would give anything to have another day with her, even though the chaos is gone, to have one more moment, like in that kind of sunshine. Like his days were brighter when she was around, even at the worst day. So that's what Brighter Than was. And then fast forward to, I think like maybe 6 months later, I lost my grandfather who I was close with, and Brighter Than comforted me. We didn't have anything like crazy in our relationship, but it was the first song I had experienced and written about grief.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, thankfully I had kind of prepared myself by letting myself have this like empathy for my friend and letting myself feel what he felt. And so I kind of felt like the grief. Oh my gosh, he literally just joined the chat. That is my Evan. Yeah, that's who this song is about. Evan, you're missing.
Timing, right?
Yeah, that's literally insane, Evan. We are talking about Brighter Than right now, if you are there listening. So it was just crazy because it's like he responded and was like, yeah, this song has meant a lot. And then we got to finally release it last year, and literally crazy timing. So it's so beautiful that we got to share that moment. I felt like I finally had a chance to connect and help him process maybe some of this that he was going through in that grief, even though at the time it almost felt again like I was like, I don't actually know how this feels. I had not lost anybody when I wrote it. But so it was beautiful because I got to help him, and I got to kind of prepare myself for what grief could look like for me just a few short months later. So that was Brighter Than, and I held on to it for a long time. And again, we got to release it recently as part of this project, which again, timing, it was everything. I could have released it any time before, but it's fit so perfectly with this group of songs that I have, because we fast forward to writing Fix, and that was about my dad, my dad was an addict. We did not have a solid relationship. And addiction was something I never understood. Addiction was something that in my mind, as tough as it was to deal with, I had always told myself it was a choice. He was choosing this lifestyle over his family. And that's something I've lived with every day of my life. He's been an addict as long as I can remember. So Fix just kind of talks about, hey, instead of like these drugs or alcohol or these pills, like, can I be the thing that you're fixated on? Can I be when he passed away, he overdosed last year, or 2 years ago now. When he passed away, we found his phone, and there were these like neurotic text messages where he was constantly texting his like dealer. And I know this is like super weird to talk about, but he was texting his dealer, and he was like, it was like crazy. He was every few minutes, hey man, you still gonna be here? Hey man, you coming? And it's like, I didn't even get a birthday text, like maybe. So it was just like, I remember thinking when I was writing one of these verses or the last chorus, it was like, can I be that text message that you craved when you finally got to hear that, yes, that person was on their way with your fix? Like, he would have done anything to get that. And it's like, what if instead of drugs, you were obsessed with your family? What if you were obsessed with me, with my siblings? What if you were obsessed with your marriage? What if you were obsessed with these things like you obsess over drugs? And Fix was my way of kind of dealing with that grief of like, hey, I had lost you a long time ago to addiction. Like, but when my dad has memorial service, all these cousins of his and people who knew him as a kid and had not seen him in 20, 30 years came through and were like, his name was Don, but they were like, Donnie was just this amazing man, charismatic. And they're saying these things, and I'm like, oh my God, they're describing like how I feel like people describe me. And it was really weird to deal with, because I was like, if my dad, when he was 20, had met me when I was 20, I think we would have been fast friends. Yeah. But it was a resentful moment too, of like, the man that I got to know as my dad seemingly was like not who he really was. It was the person who had been plagued by addiction, the person who had just suffered so much. And what really gets me through it is just remembering that before he was my dad, which objectively he kind of failed at that, before he was a husband, which objectively he kind of failed at that. He was a person who had struggles like we all do. And that's really hard to compartmentalize sometimes. Yeah. But for the most part, it does help me kind of grieve and know that, like, hey, have some empathy and some sympathy for his situation. And Fix is my way of saying, this is how I felt for so long. I thought I could just replace this addiction that you had. I thought it was as simple as you trading one thing for the other because it's a choice. You're choosing to fixate on this thing. And then the bridge is kind of this big expression of me saying, I tried forever to like be the thing that you would love, to be the thing that you would like care for. And I now realize far too late that that was so wrong of me, and I wasted so much time because this wasn't a choice. This was a mental illness. Addiction is not something that people willingly wake up every day and say, yeah, today's the day I'm going to keep being addicted to this thing. Yeah. So Fix in a lot of ways was a release. In a lot of ways it was an expression of how I felt before. But regardless, it kind of ties into like, hey, whether I feel that way now or not, it is a part of my grieving process. And it was a part of how I handled grieving my dad. And so like Fix to me is like one of my favorite songs I've ever written, one of the most powerful songs I've ever written. And again, it's one of those things where I was really nervous because it's like, obviously people who've lost, my friend Lane, who hopefully is still here, like you just joined a second ago, she lost her father as well. And we talk about all the time, but we had very different stories. And so it's like, I know that not everyone's going to feel this way about it, but I do know there are lots of people who are plagued by losing loved ones to addiction and losing loved ones to things. And so it's amazing to get to share that. And then like TikTok, for instance, has been huge because, random people get to see my video and it's like, TikTok has curated like, oh, you always watch your videos on addiction. Here's a video about a guy singing about addiction. Yeah. And I comment, strangers on the internet comment like, I lost my dad to addiction. I lost my sister to an overdose. Pray for us. We just lost an aunt to that same thing. And it's like, we share this story that seems so personal. Like, I feel like this is Bradley McKee's story, but it's so much bigger than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really cool to connect with people that way.
Yeah, and I just want to say thank you for digging into those songs because some people have heard those songs and some people have never heard those songs. But for those songs to talk about grief, addiction, feeling like you don't belong, like those are very personal topics that I feel like a lot of people don't even talk about. Like they just internalize them, right? And they just never, ever, ever talk about them with anybody.
Yeah, it's such a stigma. And we try to up, you hear someone passing and you look up their obituary and it says very vaguely how they passed, and it's like we just feel like we can't be honest about that. And that's worse because I think being honest about it, that's almost like a gift my dad gave me when he passed, which is weird to talk about. But in him passing, he gave me the gift of being able to tell my story as honestly as I want because I don't have to worry about him being upset about it or like getting hurt by what I say when I'm really honest about his and how it affected me. So it was kind of a gift and a relief in a way, which is super strange if you've like never lost anybody to this. Saying passing is relieving is like maybe crazy, but it was because our relationship was pure chaos. It was like nothing healthy. And to be able now to process and have this hope to like, hey, I hope that he is somewhere where he is whole. I hope that he is better. And for me, still being here, I hope that I can heal fully. And that I can then share my story and let other people also have some kind of healing, or at least this sense of like, hey, someone else is like saying my words. Like I'm not the only one who's gone through this. We can do this. We can keep moving on. We can keep moving forward. And we can just be better people because of this.
Yeah. And I think it just goes back to storytelling. Like, I feel like the theme of this is storytelling and honesty, right? It's just like we go back to that honest place of storytelling where you think of music and you listen to it and it hits you, or you're writing the music and you're just like, oh, how is this going to be perceived? And that's so powerful. And I just want to say thank you for being so vulnerable in these songs because it touches so many people. And then the power of TikTok, right? You have these people on the other side of the world being like, oh my God, Bradley, I just hopped on your TikTok and this.
Yes. It is crazy. It is crazy having a platform where you can share a song and someone who has seen your video and heard of you for the very first time
Yeah.
hear that song and
Right.
be like,
Yeah.
crap, I just lost a parent to addiction. Like TikTok, is more than just crazy dances and stupid trends. It is a way for like to use that algorithm that they built and people have been watching these videos and consuming. So when you post something that specific that has kind of this message, it hits other people who are like, yeah, I also am like dealing with addiction, or I have someone that I love who's dealing with addiction. And so it's really crazy to have someone again who like has watched one video of yours tell you like their story in a comment, and you're like, whoa, we are going really fast, but it's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that is amazing because TikTok is whatever you make it, right? Like you could sit here and like dance to like random things. You could sit here and tell jokes. You can do duets. But as long as you're your authentic self on TikTok, right? People will gravitate towards that. And they're like,
Yeah.
look at Bradley walking in his truth.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what I've discovered. I wondered how to navigate TikTok for so long as an artist. Yeah. And then I was like, you know what? I'm seeing like I could do like a dance trend here, a duet here, a funny joke here, an audio there. But none, like even if it's like the most popular thing at the time, people don't really care. But I have noticed that with TikTok, it's like find your thing, find your truth, and just share those videos. For me, people have responded, and thankfully, they respond to like the songwriting. Like they want to hear original music, and I'm like, this is crazy because nobody wants to hear the original music online. I get little likes on like original songs, and I post some crazy like picture of me, and it's like 200 likes, and it's easy. But so I love that because I'm like, man, TikTok really is like they are helping me and every creative push like who we are to people who we would never have a chance to connect with. And so I'm really grateful for that because it's deep, it's like personal, and I get to like share original music. I get to collaborate with artists who are like, hey, I wrote half a song, sing with me. And like that is so cool to me. Like I'm obsessed with the app. Anyone who knows me knows that I'm like my love language is you're gonna get about 110 TikToks from me a week, and I will quiz you on them. So don't leave them on red because you will have to watch them.
I love it though, because we were talking about TikTok duets earlier. And I think it's so fun when you can literally just duet with some random person. Like someone's playing the keys and then they're like, okay, I'm going to sing this part of the song and you're going to sing. And then you sing it and then you duet. Like I love those. They're so fun.
So fun. Like insanely cool. And I mean, who would have thought that we would be here and have this chance? It's so awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome. So I want to talk about your merch. So you had some merch that you released, and you released it at like random times. I'm just for people who are not familiar with your merch, less virus, more Corona baby, or phone home baby, and there's a picture of like you in like ET or something, and then razzle dazzle baby. So where can people get this merch, and will you be releasing more merch?
Such a good question. Basically the story behind the merch is I'm like infamous for having weird photo shoots or taking weird photos.
Yeah.
Photo, we were at Universal Studios with my mom, and she wanted to do these like family photos. And of course, as an adult, I was like, I'm gonna make it weird because and like I'm not gonna sit here and have the three of us in an ET like prop closet taking a family photo. Like, so I just made like weird faces. All the workers were very confused. And so people like love that picture. So I just made a whole like line of like, here are all my weird photos, and you can find them on the Instagram. There's a whole couple posts about them. But I made these weird pictures with weird backgrounds and just some simple writing. But the one that stuck was my Less Duke, More Hazard. And that is the one of me like in a Daisy Duke outfit. Random coworker like cartoonized it once for me.
Yes.
And saying that he drew like every little like body hair with by hand, and I was like, this is too much information.
Oh my god!
But that is available if you are on Amazon and you search Less Duke, more hazard, that shirt will pop up for sale and you can have it. It's your very own shirt with me as a cartoon Jessica Simpson from the Dukes of Hazzard, which is, you know, that's the only way I could have thought to promote an album about grieving was a photo of me, you know, as Jessica Simpson from the Dukes of Hazzard. There's nothing I could have done, you know?
Oh my God, that's so funny. So for people that are interested in the merch, I know you said Amazon, but are you going to do like another drop, or is more coming? Like, talk to us.
Yeah, that's such a good question. And thankfully, I think we kind of talked about this earlier. I do have the power to bring those shirts back very easily.
Yeah.
So if there is any kind of like, hey, I missed out, or you see the photo from this and you're like, oh, I would love one of those shirts, we can get your shirt. I can do it. I can make it happen.
You should, I think, whether it's tonight or tomorrow, I think you should just post a couple of those like photos and be like, hey, you know, hope you guys are having a good summer. Like, here's some fun merch, and see if it hits. And then you could be like, here's the link, or DM me for whatever prices. Cause you just, I mean, when was the last time you posted a photo like that?
Oh gosh, it's been a while. I think since I dropped the merch like forever ago was the last time I did it.
Okay, so you're long due.
Yeah, you're right. I am long due. I need right on the cusp of like, what we haven't talked about is just like there's one more song coming out to kind of complete all these singles. Little like insider thing I haven't really talked about a lot yet is that all these singles are kind of going to be formed into an EP that's all about grief. And it's this last one kind of encapsulates the final part of grief, which is that like relief I've talked about. It is that kind of like, hey, when you lose someone who was battling a disease or they were in pain or something crazy was happening, where now it's like they're free of all of that, and it was really hard to watch them through that, and there's someone that you loved and cared about deeply. There is kind of this like joy in knowing that they are whole again and that they aren't dealing with that thing anymore and hurting. So I think you're right. I think we're over, like that song is on the cusp of being released along with the whole EP reveal. So we'll definitely do that. And listen, you and I can talk later. You have to send me an address. I'll send you one of them, your choice.
Yay, that'd be so awesome. So I know you said this is like the collection of songs for the EP, but talk to us about what's coming up next. The EP, more singles, live dates, collaborations. Talk to us about what's happening.
Yeah, hopefully all of the above. Right now, we are in the studio working on the last single, but I think instead of a single, I'm going to drop it with the whole collection that I've released. So you'll have Brighter Than, you'll have the Fix, you'll have Belong, you'll have this new song, and then I think I'm going to include some like I've got some special things that like voice clips of my dad and some things we're going to like weave in there just to kind of pull the whole project about grief together.
Yeah.
So that's like the focus right now. And with Georgia and the world opening up again, live music is like where I'm at. Like I would much rather be on a stage than be in the studio.
Yeah.
And so my hope is that we can kind of get some more dates on there and just start playing live again. Cause like I said, like, I mean, TikTok is fun. Instagram is fun, but there's something about being face to face with a person where you can share that song, share your heart. They can see it. And then you guys have that really amazing kind of post-concert conversation where they share their heart and you get to share yours. And I kind of got a taste of that recently. I got to sing Belong during the set of a friend's set list, actually from my season of The Voice as well. And it like was just invigorating. It was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I haven't done this in like 2 years. Like this is crazy. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. So for people that are watching right now, Bradley, where can they find you? Plug all of your social media.
Okay, this is easy. It's Bradley McKee on everything. I'm going to type it out. It's Bradley on literally everything except for TikTok, which is a little bit of a weird one. Daddy Vlog. So that's where you can find it all. Bradley McKee is my name. That's Spotify. That's Apple Music. That's Amazon. But TikTok, my name was taken. So Daddy Vlog is where you can find me on TikTok. But you should see that my name is Bradley McKee once you find Daddy Vlog. Should not be super hard to find. It's all me time.
So for people watching right now, Bradley, how can they support you as a musician?
Yeah, I think the best way you can support me right now is wherever you stream your music or buy your music, listen to the songs, put them on a playlist, put them on like, whether it's like a house cleaning playlist or it's your like drive to church or like work or your morning commute or your afternoon walk or your run. Streaming music for me is huge. As a smaller artist, it's like every monthly listener, every like other play count. And it's like, I hope that after you listen to it, we can then talk about it. I would love for you to share how you feel about the music. But that's how you can support. Listen to the music. I am not like raising support currently. I'm not doing anything like that at the moment. So the best way you can do is just listen to my new songs, listen to my old songs, put one of them on a playlist that you listen to reoccurring. That would be huge. And that would be a huge way for you to like support what I'm doing. It would just be so awesome if you could do that.
Yeah. And buy the merch. And when he has live dates, go see him in concerts.
Say hello. Come say hello. Let's sing some music sometime soon. And let's make that happen sooner rather than later.
Exactly. Well, Bradley, that's all the questions I have for you this evening, but you're going to perform for us.
Yes. I've got 2 cover songs. I know it's funny, like talking all this time about like original music, but I love these songs. One of them is by Ben Rector, who I've always loved his music. And actually, I sang 2 of his songs for my like pre-blind auditions for The Voice. And so I kind of credit like Ben Rector for getting me through the auditions. And I'm like, his songs just, they were perfect. Like they were perfect for The Voice. They were perfect for my voice. They got me through. People love it. And then I'm going to sing another song by it's a cover by Callum Scott. Because I think his voice is so real and raw, and he kind of has this story that I have, which is he did a show and he took all that fame from the show and made a career out of it. And I just really loved his story. I think he's really honest. I just love the songs, so I'm going to sing them for you guys. Cool. All right. This first one by Ben Rector is called Brand New. Take a sip of water. I feel like new sunglasses, like a brand new pair of jeans. I feel like taking chances. I feel a lot like 17. I feel like windows rolled down, new city streets and cars. I feel like anything can happen, laughing, you take me right back when we were kids. Never thought I'd feel like this. Like when I close my eyes and don't even care if anyone sees me dancing. Like I can't fly and I don't even think of touching the ground. Yeah. Like a heartbeat skip, like an open page, like a one-way trip on a narrow plane. It's the way that I feel when I'm with you. Brand new. I feel brand new, yeah. I feel like a young John Cusack, like making big mistakes. I feel like for the first time in a long time, I am not afraid. I feel like a kid. Never thought I'd feel like this. Like when I close my eyes and don't even care if anyone sees me dancing. Like I can't fly and I don't even think of touching the ground. Like a heartbeat skip, like an open page, like a one-way trip on a narrow plane. It's the way that I feel when I'm with you. Brand new. I feel brand new. And time will always try to make us old. But you remind me what I used to know. Like when I close my eyes and don't even care if anyone sees me dancing. Like I can fly and I don't even think of touching the ground. Like a heartbeat skip, like an open page, like a one-way trip on an aeroplane. It's the way that I feel when I'm with you. Brand new, oh yeah, I feel brand new, and I feel, and I feel, and I feel brand new. Ooh, I feel brand new, and I feel, and I feel, and I feel brand new.
Yes! Oh, I love it. That was beautiful, Bradley.
Oh my gosh. Okay, this last one I'm going to do for you guys is Callum Scott. It's Dancing on My Own. We're going to take it down a little bit, a little more moody, but I love this song. I love his cover of it. Yeah, so I'm going to do that one for you guys now. Somebody said you got a new friend. Does she love you better than I can? There's a big black sky over my town. I know where you're at, I bet she's around. And yeah, I know it's stupid, I just gotta see it for myself. I'm in the corner, watching you kiss her, oh. I'm right over here, why can't you see me and know? I'm giving it my all, I'm not the guy to take it home, oh. I keep dancing on my own. I just wanna dance all night. I'm all messed up and so out of line. Yeah. Stilettos and broken bottles, I'm spinning around in circles. I'm in the corner, watching you kiss her, oh. I'm right over here, why can't you see me? Oh, I'm giving it my all, I'm not the guy to take it home, oh. I keep dancing on my own. So far away, still so near. The lights come up, the music dies. You don't see me standing here. I just can't say goodbye. I'm in the corner, watching you kiss her. Oh, I'm giving it my And I'm in the corner watching you kiss her. And oh, I'm right over here. Why can't you see me? And oh, I'm giving it my all. I'm not the guy you take it home. Oh, I keep dancing on my own. So far away, still so near. The lights come up, the music dies. You don't see me standing here.
Yes! Thank you. That was beautiful. Pete, Mike, Luke, Sosie, Colette, we see your comments. Thank you. That was amazing.
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this. This is so much fun.
Oh my God, this is so much fun. So do you have a couple minutes for questions?
Yes.
Okay, cool. I just want to double check with you. Guys, if you have any questions for Bradley, feel free to put them in the comments section below. Where do you see your career in 5 years?
Oh my gosh, what a question. You know, my dream and where I would love to see it kind of take place is it shifted from like who I was at The Voice, which was like get big fast, right?
Yeah.
And now I would love to like renovate like a van and like just drive around the US or the Southeast or even just like Georgia for now.
Yeah.
And play live music, whether it be for, you know, a listening room of 25 people or a backyard with a family or a stage of, you know, 1,000, like whatever it is. Just kind of the idea of sharing live music and sharing my songs has become kind of the like nucleus of everything I want to do now, which is so different maybe from me when I was, you know, 21 years old or something.
Yeah, I think it's really cool that you want to like just take this van and like just go and do the music.
Which is even funnier because I like camping and stuff, but I'm not necessarily like, I'm not granola, like I'm not the crunchy guy. Like I enjoy the Ritz, Carlton, you know what I'm saying? Like the idea of a van terrifies me because I'm like, I like a full-size shower. I like a
Yes!
like,
You're like, I don't want someone to squirt a hose at me and me like have this Dove soap in my hand. I know what you mean. Like you want to be in a bed, like you don't want to be like in a sleeping bag somewhere.
Yes, but listen, the sacrifices we make.
Hey, you know, sometimes you got to do things in life that terrify you and get you out of your comfort zone. Because if you could be able to just be in this van and just like play random shows and drive and see different parts of the country and stuff and have these in-person connections with people, like that's awesome.
Yeah, 100%. Like that would be the dream, even if it means a tiny shower, I think.
You're like, oh, tiny shower, or ooh, mosquitoes and bugs. And Nature Valley granola bars, which are so disgusting, by the way, and you eat them and they break into like 75 pieces, and they're gross.
Yes, they're ready to explode on impact. Like,
what instrument would you like to learn?
sorry about the tickle in my throat. Woo!
No, you're good.
I currently play keys.
Okay.
But I would love to learn the guitar. I think it's just more feasible.
Yeah.
Like I think I swallowed a hair during that last song.
Oh.
We're good. Yeah, I would love. Great question. I would love to learn the guitar. That would be my next instrument of choice to learn.
Mm-hmm. Where do you want to travel after COVID?
So I'm going out of the country for the very first time in a week to a wedding in the Dominican Republic. I've never been out of the country.
Oh, wow.
Travel, so I'm shocked myself. But yeah, I would love to travel, obviously there because I've got some friends getting married. Ireland is like top of the list. I want to get back to New York. I used to come like at least 4 to 5 times a year because I get to New York and it's like it's like you have never was raised in the South. Like I'm just like fitting right in, pushing people aside, running through the like. I take no prisoners. Like New York,
you're just like standing on the sidewalk pushing random people. They're like, "Who is this guy?"
Yeah, they're like, "What's wrong with you?" I'm like, "I'm a New Yorker." Like, get out of my way.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Are you afraid of the dark?
Yes, like a healthy amount. I guess we all maybe a little bit. Yeah, maybe more than the average bear, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just like a random question that popped up. I don't know if they meant like the show from back in the day or like when you turn the lights off, you're petrified.
Yeah, probably both. I mean, honestly, that scarred me for sure.
Oh, I love it. So, last question. What song do you wish you wrote and why?
Ooh, wow. What song do I wish I wrote? Gosh, I'm trying to think, like, because I know I'm gonna say one off the top of my head, and then I'll be like, dang it, I wish I said
Yeah.
it. I think if I could have written one song, I'm sure there's like probably 100 that are gonna come to mind in the next like hour. But right now, I am thinking about "Diamonds" by Johnny Swim.
Mm-hmm.
On a song, although beautiful. Same season that Kelly Clarkson sang "Pieces." That one girl that sang "Diamonds." Oh my god, like, oh. But "Diamonds" by Johnny Swim. It's all about them, kind of in like the most amazing, like folky singer songwriter way, like giving the middle finger a little bit, but like nicely.
Yeah.
They talk about how like they had a musical friend who was like, oh, they started getting success, and this person was like, oh well, they're you guys like got it because of like who your family connections are, or like you didn't make it on your own. And then he was kind of like, so give me those connections, like I want to make it too. And like was really, like, they describe it as like really crazy.
Yeah.
And Diamonds to me is just such like a, hey, all of those things that are weighing you down and that are putting pressure on you, and that all those lies that people are saying and that you're telling yourself, it's all just that pressure and that heat that creates diamonds. Like, and eventually you are going to rise up out of the dust, and you're going to be this incredible, beautiful thing that people gawk after and that they want so desperately. And I love that song. I think it's powerful. The vocal melodies are powerful. And like, it's just one of those like stomping songs that makes you want to run through a wall. Like, it's just so good. And so the message is incredible.
Yeah. And I love that you picked an incredible song that has beautiful lyrics because that was like, I feel like songwriting was just like the thread of this conversation. Like, it always came back to like honesty and songwriting, like whatever we discussed, right?
Yeah, yes, which is crazy because I like I said, songwriting came later for me. It's still an identity that I'm like taking on and feeling like I can own.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah. So, final words for the room, Bradley.
Final words. Oh my gosh. So maybe cliche, but like truly, you are not alone. Like, in use music to support that. Let that kind of be like your data
Yeah.
or your backing, because you will find that if you're looking for those songs that are about the way that you're grieving a family member, or the way that you are struggling with something, or just like you're having the best day of your life and you need to find that perfect track to like be the soundtrack for the most incredible day you've ever had, you'll realize that there is someone who has put words and music and a melody to what you had. And songwriters and singers are such a small population of the world. So if there's a musician that understands what you're going through, surely there are 100 other people who do other things who are also going through the same thing. You're not alone. And we've all felt whatever you're feeling at some point in our life. And it's worth pushing on. It's worth validating, but it's also worth realizing that, like, hey, it's not the end is how we're feeling. There is something better, or someone to share it with. Always. We just have to look for it and find it.
Yeah, I think you are not alone is so important, right? Like, it's just like you are not alone in whatever you are feeling. Other people have felt that way. There's singer-songwriters that feel that way. There's people in your life that maybe you never talked to about those things that feel the same way. There's always a community out there for you. And when worst comes to worst, turn to music, because music has helped me through practically every situation in my life, good and bad. Music
Yeah.
is everything to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, yeah, I mean, that's perfect. Like, you're 100% right. It's there. That it's like I mean, if you don't know where to start, find the songs, share the songs that you're listening to, share your story. You don't have to have written a song for it
Yeah.
to like be a part of your story.
Right.
I said in the beginning of this, Diamonds helped me. Georgia Capond helped me. There are songs that I listen to that I feel like I could have written. Like they are part of my story and they tell my story so well that it's like, man, I would love to share those. And like, maybe that's a thing I should do more often is like share their songs and say how they've impacted me. We don't have written a song for it to still be something that we can share. And then that's how we build community. We find this interest. I also responded well to that song. We should listen to it sometime. We should go on the road trip that inspired this song. We should, whatever it is, like let music be that foundation.
Definitely. I love that. Beautifully said. I don't even feel like I could say anything after that because it's just like mic drop. You know what I mean? Bradley, I just want to say thank you so much for the conversation tonight, for being so honest, for sharing your music. Like, honestly, I feel like we need to charge people for watching this because this was like a therapy session, right?
Yes. I'm beat. I'm about to have a cup of tea. Like we've done our thing. You know what I mean?
We have definitely done our thing tonight. Guys, if you don't already, please make sure to follow Bradley on all social media platforms. Stream the music, buy the music, support everything that's going on. He has incredible, fun merch. There's going to be some live dates coming up. Share the music. Like I said, follow Bradley. And if you don't already, please make sure to follow me. I'm Ashley Live. This is Vibin with Ashley Live. And thank you guys for sharing your evening with us.
Thanks so much, Ashley.
Thanks. Have a good night, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.